it's just saying what there is. How are you?
Made it.
Yeah.
It is 7 o'clock, Monday, January 6th, and it's time to call the Ferrisburg City Council meeting to order. Craig, could you call, or Amber, could you call roll, please?
Councilmember Montgomery.
Here.
Councilmember Sias.
Here.
Councilmember Murdoch. Here. Councilmember Kate.
Here.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Here.
Councilmember Sturley.
Here.
Mayor Carlson.
Here. I'd like to call up Sarah Bogert from Gateway Church. Sarah, to give our invocation, and then we'll all rise as well for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to share a couple words about what you're doing with your church.
Too. And so we're able to bless the community and help just people that are in need or people that aren't in need, but like could use a handout. And so, yeah, we're right down the hallway here because we rent from you guys. So we appreciate the partnership. It's been a blessing. So, thank you. Father, we just come before you tonight, and I just thank you for this time, for these people who have taken time out here. And I just ask, Lord, that you would be with each and every person here, Lord, that you would give wisdom and guidance to the council members and the board and the mayor. And I pray, Father, that you would just bring blessing upon the city and protection. And I just thank you for this opportunity in Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now is the time for public comments, the time on the agenda for any citizen to direct brief comments or questions to City Council. Please address your questions to me and state your name to be recognized with your address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do you have any public comments tonight? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman, Councilpeople. My name is Grady Meyer. I have a property at 16851 Carlson Parkway, run it as a short-term rental. I've been doing that for coming up on 5 years now. And I just want to take the opportunity to talk just briefly that from my perspective of running the property, never had a noise complaint, have very good relationships with the neighbors. I think through just a quick estimate, roughly between non-homestead property tax and occupancy tax that's paid through Airbnb, generated about $75,000 to $80,000 of revenue for the city of Ferrisburg through the property, through the short-term rentals. Operated very good, small, it's 2-bedroom, so I don't get large groups, large parties, things like that. Like I said, never had a noise complaint. And I understand that there should be, you know, some considerations of how short-term rentals operate and how they affect the community, everything like that. What I just came here mostly to say today is maybe a consideration of the minimum stay, maybe that be considered from a Memorial to Labor Day period, because the rest of the year it's impractical. For instance, let's say coming up with Valentine's Day weekend. For my property, a couple of me want to come out and spend a weekend together, but renting for a week for Valentine's Day weekend is very impractical. And like I say, I think there should be some allowances, and I have no problem with that. But I think there might be some consideration that maybe the arrangements be made to address the major considerations when maybe noise and other things like that that real summer critical period when the revelers come and they do it, you know, they make the noise and things like that. And I'm just asking for general consideration that maybe a refinement to the policy be made to reflect that kind of arrangement. Yes, sir.
You a resident of Ferrisburg?
I am a resident of Norton Shores.
Thank you. I didn't get your address before. I just heard the address here in town.
Right, yeah, so Norton Shores, and my son and I own the property together. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, let's move forward. Agenda item 6, for the consideration of the approval of consent agenda. 6A, approve the December 16th, 2024 City Council minutes as printed. And 6B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $62,756.09. Craig, that's something new on our agenda.
Right. We're gonna start putting invoices that are gonna be paid on the consent agenda every meeting now. So council actually approves the invoices.
Yep.
And this is something that is required by state law.
Okay, very good. So I'd entertain a motion for that.
Amendment to the agenda.
I would entertain a motion for that too.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the consideration for approval of the consent agenda with the modification of adding C1. Do you have that, Your Honor? Or
I do.
Craig, do you have?
Yes, we'd like to add item 7C1 to have a public hearing to consider to adopt a brownfield plan for the Stillwater development and for the city of Ferrisburg to exercise its power pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of the Brownfield Redevelopment Financing Act, being Act 831 of the Public Act of the State of Michigan of 1996, as amended. The description of the proposed brownfield property is parcel number 700316100063, a parcel directly adjacent to the east of Ferrisburg City Hall, land situated in the city of Ferrisburg, county of Ottawa, state of Michigan.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you. We have support?
I'll support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. Amber?
Okay. Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch. Yes. Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley,
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on to 7, new business. 7A is the audit presentation from Patrick Mulcher from Brinkley DeLong.
Hi, my name is Patrick Muchler. I'm a partner with Brinkley DeLong, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you tonight. My presentation is really more about educating you about the financial statement. So if you guys have questions, please interrupt me as I go through. Try to keep it brief, but I do want to hit the high points and give you an opportunity to learn a little bit about the financials and ask some questions along the way. So if you turn to page 1, which is the independent auditor's report, this used to be a nice 1 page, and it was 2 page, and then we had COVID, now it's 3 pages. So, they did move the opinions right to the top of the letter, which is nice. The first paragraph indicates what we're giving our opinion on. The second paragraph is the opinion itself, and the second paragraph basically indicates that we're happy with the financial statements as presented. Moving on to page 4 is a management discussion analysis. And this is a document that management puts together, and it's actually a very good document to read because it kind of highlights the significant changes from year to year. So especially if you're new to the council, taking 4 or 5 years of this and reading it would be very helpful to kind of see what has been happening over the last few years. And if you turn over to page 7, is on the management discussion analysis, the statement of net position. And basically, this is comparison 2024 to 23, but it's taking all your funds and kind of smushing them together into one set of numbers. You know, you have very large corporations with companies all over the world, and they can give us one set of numbers. So can the city of Ferrisburg. So that's the idea behind that. And they do that with all your governmental funds. That'd be like the general fund, major street, local, like that. And then the business type ones, so your water and sewer are put together for the business type. If you take a look at that, you can see your current assets and other assets went up a little bit, but you also had an increase in equity, which was primarily responsible for that. Capital assets, you saw there was an increase there. You did a lot of work this last year with capital assets, you used your ARPA funds, did a lot of work in the parks, so that ended up increasing your capital assets. You'll see deferred outflows, and down below there's deferred inflows. Those move around quite a bit, and those all relate to your pension plan and what the actuary does with that, and what your actual results are with investments and things along those lines. You can see your current liabilities decreased significantly from 733 to 382,000. That is due to the use of the ARPA funds, because those are listed as a liability, because until you use them, you potentially would have to return the money, but since you used a good portion of it, now that's no longer a liability, so that's the big decrease there. Your non-current liabilities is normal scheduled debt payments. And then you've got your equity at the bottom, and you can see you've got 13 million in equity at the bottom there, but I always like to point out to people, it's in three pieces. And it's really important to understand there's three pieces there. The first one is net investment in capital assets, it's basically $10 million. That's your roads, your buildings, things like that. You can't spend, you can't pay bills with that. That's for the public use. Then you've got restricted, a little over $1 million in restricted funds. Those are money like major and local street. You receive that money, but you have restrictions of what you can use it. You can't just decide I want to do X or Y. You have to fit within the framework of those dollars. Then you have your unrestricted, which is the general fund, and those are monies really that you guys have the ability to do what you want with. Business type activities kind of has the same type of information on it. Turning over to page 8 is your changes in net position. I always tell people if you were a for-profit company, this would be your income statement. So kind of think about it in those terms. If you take a look, you've got your capital grants and contributions. The third one down was a big decrease, but you had, I think, Dogwood Drive last year. You had a big grant to pay for that. You didn't have a similar one this year, so that's the decrease there. Grants and contributions not restricted down below. That you can see that went from 344,000 to 658. That's the ARPA funds is driving that change. Then you get into your rest of unrestricted investment earnings. As we all know, there's actually interest now, so that's the change there, is being able to actually invest the monies. And then you get down in your expenses. You've got a number of changes down there, but the biggest one obviously is just your culture and recreation. You saw you had a decrease there. You know, reason I want to point that out is I just kind of mentioned you spent a lot of money in the parks, but when you spent money in the parks, that's a capital asset, which means it's going to benefit the public for a lot of years. So that is not included in there, it's depreciated over time. So that's why you're not seeing that big jump. So kind of moving on to, I'm going to skip over the rest of it. Once again, it's a lot of good information in there, and it's, I like to say it's written in English. So it makes it a little easier. I want to skip all the way to page 12 and talk about the statement of activities just briefly. This is the same numbers that we were just looking at, except in a little more detail and laid out in different format. But what I wanted to point out, and if we can use, community and economic development as an example. So it starts out with the first column being expenses. Most of the time when you look at an income statement, you always start with revenues minus expenses. This starts with expenses, which is a little bit different. So if you look at the mindset behind why it's laid out this way, so community and economic development, you had 135,000 in expenses, but you generated $116,000 in fees. So if you follow that across, the public only had to pay for $18,000 for that department out of property taxes and state revenue sharing. So it kind of gives you an idea of what your property taxes are being used for, and it takes a lot of those grants when you receive money, who's expenses, so it kind of distorts things. This takes a lot of those distortions out. That's kind of the idea behind the framework. Page 13, and I'm going to skip all the way to page 15, is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. This is the information that you kind of get every board package. And this is the one the state of Michigan cares about. It's what's called modified accrual, which I always tell people in layman terms, it's cash or will be cash shortly. So it does, you know, there's going to be no buildings on there, no long-term debt. It's going to be stuff related to cash. As you can see, if you look across the bottom, all the funds for the most part were up other than ARPA. But once again, ARPA makes sense because we're trying to spend that money before the end of the year, so that's being drawn down. And all the way on the outside, you have a column called other governmental funds. And the idea behind that is cities have a lot of funds. But what they want you to do is they want you to focus on the big ones. So they actually have a test to decide what qualifies to be in the front. And if it's not, then it's in the other funds and it gets stuck all the way in the back. So the detail's there, but it's kind of in the back. And the idea behind that, these are the ones you want to focus on. These are the big ones. Then we get into the water and sewer, which is the same ones we were looking at earlier, just a little more detail. And then you get into your footnotes, which go on for many, many pages. And the only ones of real significance there, I think, that are interesting to people to look at is page 35. A lot of people, you've got long-term debt, and this kind of shows you your time frame and when you're going to be paying off that debt, what the interest rates, things like that. So that's kind of a schedule a lot of people like to look at. There's also a lot of information on your pension plan. Page 39 probably has the most detail on that, but there's also a schedule in the back that's very similar. And we'll spend a little time with that one because I like it because it gives you multiple years side by side so you can see trends. So it's a little bit more helpful. Moving over to page 43 is the budget comparison schedule for the general fund. The only thing I really want to highlight here as an auditor when I come in is I spend most of my time actually looking at the original budget, not the final budget. I always like to mention to my clients is the final budget, I expect it to be close because you kind of knew the answer and you amended right before the end of the year. So that one's usually close. But if I take a look at your original budget, you can see there are very few changes, which means that management spent some time up front making sure things were accurate and gave you guys. So kudos to Craig and Amber for coming up with an accurate budget to begin with. You have a lot of budget to actuals. Those really don't want to go through them one by one. But if you do flip back to page 48, that's the same schedule that I mentioned in the footnotes for the pension, but it gives you 10 years to look at the trend. And you can see, if you want to see how you're doing, is to look, it's the third from the bottom. It's called Plan Fiduciary Net Position at Percentage of Total Pension Liability. It's 74.46%. That's kind of your funding percentage. That tells you how well you're funded. In the state of Michigan, they're concerned if you drop under 60, you guys are in the 70s. And then it's closed, so new people are not getting into it. I think, Craig, if I'm not wrong, 4 people left?
Correct.
In the plan. But you still have to fund for anybody who's still drawing that you still have to pay for in the future, but nobody else is entering the plan. So that's my quick and short and brief presentation. Does anybody have questions? I try to keep in English and not get too much accountantese for you, so. All right.
I have a question for Craig. Craig, is nobody new entering the pension? Is it not being, do we not offer that to new employees? Is that why nobody new is entering the pension?
Right, the pension information in your audit report is for the defined benefit plan. All new employees will go into a defined contribution plan.
Okay.
So beyond the bills memo that we now have to address, all the bills every 2 weeks, is there any other major changes that we need to make?
There's some other recommendations in there, but nothing significant. You know, approval of the bills is the biggest one. And usually that comes in 2 pieces. One is you're required to approve those. You got to make sure, because once you pay a bill, even if you don't agree with it, it's paid. So you want to approve them ahead of time. And I know, Craig, and you guys may have already voted on it, but I know you were working on a policy for what's called, I refer to as like reoccurring things that can't wait, like utility bills. You know, if 2 weeks and it's going to be a due date, it's going to be late, and somebody's going to turn your lights off, that can't wait. You need to have a policy and give them authorization to pay those bills. But once again, you know, unusual bills like a big construction bill should wait for you guys to approve. You know, so. And I'm not sure, I know Craig had shown me a draft of that. I'm not sure if you've seen it or approved it, but I know he has worked on it.
It's approved.
Craig, that's coming to us.
I'm sorry?
You're gonna bring that to us,
Yeah, yes, we approved the bill check policy. Now we'll work on the recurring policy.
And we got all our banking all straightened around when we were looking at switching 3 months ago or whatever it was. Okay, good. Anybody else have any other questions for GPA fund?
I got one. Craig, we were talking about this pension plan, we're at 74%. we were going to increase the pension payment to the police department, or is that included in this? The combined, Spring Lake Ferrisburg Police Department,
No, that's separate.
that's separate from this?
That's on the village books.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But when we were running shy of one deputy for a while, that was allowing us to pay extra down on the pension.
That's correct, yes.
Anyone else have anything?
All right, thank you.
Moving on to 7B, public hearing to consider request by Stillwater Capital LLC for proposed planned unit development for 16 residential units on parcel number 700316-100-063, a parcel directly adjacent to the east of Ferrisburg City Hall. Let's open the public hearing at 7:22. What did you need to have happen, Craig?
So this is for the site plan for the development next to City Hall. The developer came in and met with the planning commission back in September to talk about the plan. The planning commission was open to it, so he finalized the drawings and put it together in November. It was reviewed by the planning commission, and they made a recommendation to for city council to approve that site plan. There'll be 4 buildings, 2 off of Ridge Avenue, 2 off of Roosevelt. Each building will have 4 different units in it. That development will be paid through tax increment financing, which is the next couple items on the agenda. But this is just for the site plan.
Okay. Is someone here from Stillwater?
Go ahead.
My name is Curtis Moran, representing Stillwater Capital, the applicant for the 16-unit plan unit development up for your approval or disapproval tonight. With me, Zach Booby, BK Civil, for any engineering or technical questions, and then Jared Belka with Warner Norcross and Judd for any brownfield or TIF questions. So spent a lot of time at the Planning Commission, kind of hammering out a lot of the site plan details, and also with the Brownfield Authority, a lot of great questions and discussion about, I believe, your first Brownfield Authority project in the city. So we felt like that went really well. Recommendations for approval from both. So any questions, happy to field. If they are engineering or legal related, we have people for that here tonight as well. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone on city council have any questions regarding Stillwater?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
You're on the planning commission, correct?
I am.
Okay, this has been discussed at nauseum.
Indeed.
Okay, and the planning commission is recommending we approve this?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm reading the item about how 4 of the 16 units will be income qualified. Are those 4 units going to be specified or just any 4?
What we're planning on is having one of the 2 buildings off from Roosevelt be the income restricted units.
Okay, thank you.
And they have to be designated with the federal government, don't they, even before you start construction?
Correct.
The units and
I believe
everything.
so. Is that?
Okay,
I guess
you.
the last piece, with the approvals that we're seeking tonight for both the site plan and our brownfield plan, we are looking to donate an acre of our project back to the city, so you all can get back into compliance with your Parks and Rec, the missing acre, to start applying for those grants again.
Very true.
Your Honor,
Yes.
a question for Craig. We talked about this in Brownfield. That 1 acre, you were still waiting to hear something from, I think, Federal Parks or somewhere, some park authority, if that 1 acre was qualifying. Have you heard back from them yet?
Yes, we heard back from the DNR, who met with the National Park Service. They gave us a green light to move forward.
So that the 1 acre will be qualifying?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, great news.
I see in our packet, we had a letter from someone that was concerned about the Roosevelt Road traffic.
Correct.
So how is that going to be addressed?
So there's gonna be 4 units and a fourplex over off of Roosevelt Road. When we did the road a couple years back, we widened the road to allow for traffic to be stacked on the north and south side and still have emergency vehicles to get through. So I think we should be all set there.
Okay.
We had a citizen comment a while ago as well.
Yes,
that lives across the street from there.
yes.
Or is that the same citizen?
No, this is different.
Different one. So, fire and sheriff's department doesn't have a problem at all with traffic flow in there now since we've, widened the road.
That's correct. We haven't had any, I haven't received any complaints.
Good. Anybody else have anything? We need to hear about Brownfield.
Thank you.
You bet.
So, Your Honor.
Yes.
We'll do, this will be 2 separate items here, so we'll close this public hearing.
Oh, okay.
And we'll discuss the resolution for approval of the site plan for the development.
Okay, very good. Any, no,
Yeah.
go ahead, Rebecca.
Excuse me, Rebecca Happ, former mayor of the city of Ferrisburg, P.O. Box 85, Ferrisburg 49409. I serve as vice chair of the Brownfield EDC for Ferrisburg, but I also serve on the same Brownfield EDC, well, not same, but anyways, for Ottawa County. And Ottawa County has seen a lot of growth through the Brownfield, and we have approved multiple units, Hudsonville, Zeeland, also in Grand Haven. So it's really nice that this is an opportunity for the city of Ferrisburg in Northwest Ottawa County to be able to showcase something so unique as this for the city. And so serving as vice chair of the Brownfield for Ferrisburg, we did approve this. And I know that the company has been working closely with Ottawa County too, with Becky and in the group at the Planning Commission. And so it's a very favorable unit. Also, when I served on the Rec Commission, we were denied different grants because of lacking that 1 acre. So I think that also too that this is going to be an added bonus that would come along with this project.
Thank you. Any other public comments before we close the public hearing? Okay, let's close the public hearing at 7:27. So moving on to agenda item C1. Craig, do I need to read that all again?
This is just item C, not first.
Not item C, okay, very good. Discussion and take action if appropriate to adopt or not adopt a resolution approving a planned unit development for 16 residential units on parcel number 7003-16-100-063, a parcel directly adjacent to the east of Ferrisburg City Hall.
Your Honor?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay.
Support.
Motion and support on the floor. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Amber, call roll, please.
Councilmember Sias.
Yay.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. Moving on to 7-1. Once again, Mr. City Manager, would you like me to read this whole thing or not?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay, very good.
Just open the public hearing and state the
Okay.
time, please.
So we're gonna open up the public hearing to consider request to adopt a brownfield plan for the Stillwater development in the city of Ferrisburg. And that's gonna be at 7:30.
Mayor, council
Good evening.
members, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Sure, there will be lots of questions on this. This would be your first brownfield, and it's also utilizing the new housing TIF program to support. So I apologize for kind of pushing the question about the attainable units, but I figured we could address all that within this. Yeah, it's a 16-unit project. Obviously, you guys know about the project itself. We're proposing to designate 4 units that would be income qualified units for 100% or below area median income. Right now, Curtis is projecting sales prices around 270 to 300 in that mark, and that falls within that range. Those would be deed restricted units, and they would be required during the term of the TIF to maintain that affordability level. These are for sale units. These are not rental units, so these would be likely homestead units for qualified buyers. This is utilizing tax increment financing, so Curtis's team would make the investment, drive the taxable value up. The brownfield would capture a portion of that and reimburse him over time. We had explored the option of potentially trying to bond for the infrastructure. That's really the key of what Curtis was looking to achieve here with this project in order to be able to move forward. Given the dollar amount involved, along with some other bonding issues, that really wasn't a feasible option. That would be the city or the Brownfield Authority bonding. So we looked at the alternative of Curtis and his team self-financing that. So we are requesting reimbursement. It is a period of about 28 years based on some, the assumptions in the plan. These are assuming about a 2% inflation rate. We obviously all know that's gone up and down over the years, so that probably is a little conservative. It also assumes all the units are homestead units. If somebody bought a second home, then which would not be the income qualified unit, but if somebody bought it, they would obviously be paying the school operating millage as well, so that could accelerate the reimbursement. So I'm here to answer any questions. We appreciate your consideration of this request. It is critical in order for Curtis and his team to move forward with the project. We did ask that we have both the site plan and the brownfield so we could talk about them kind of as a whole, as opposed to having them on different agendas. So that's why both of those ended up here. We appreciate your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
You answered mine. I'm good.
You did. We're good. Okay. Anyone else have any questions about brownfield and the financing of this thing? Members of the public?
I have a question, Your Honor. How did the income qualified homes work if that income qualified person chooses to sell that property?
Yep, those would be subject to a deed restriction. So
Okay.
that would be out in the public record, and they wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, and that's just for as long as the TIF, or is that forever?
It is for the term of the TIF. That's how MSHDA is operating the program. It has to at least be that tied to that attainability period for the term of the TIF reimbursement. We would also have a executed development and reimbursement agreement with the Brownfield Authority that would stipulate all of those criteria and obligations and conditions for reimbursement.
Any other city council members? Member of the public? And during the public hearing? Yes, sir.
Craig, now this is 100% financed by the company. The city's not involved other than delayed taxes.
That's correct. Developer is financing the project, being reimbursed through the TIF.
So there is no outlay for the city, for the Ferrisburg city in this project.
There's no upfront cost to the city, no. So the city will get a 5% administrative fee?
Yes. So debt millages are not captured, so any debt millages are not captured by the brownfield. We do have included in an administrative cost of $50,000, which for administration of the plan, that is at the option of the authority to capture that. In addition, there's an annual 5% administrative fee to offset costs associated with administering the brownfield itself. Lastly, there is the option to capture funds for a local brownfield revolving fund. Again, that's at the discretion of the authority. That we have that incorporated into the plan as an option, but it's not a requirement if the authority chooses not to.
Your Honor? Yes, sir.
One of you, if you could, just to briefly talk about this TIF, is the duration of it is, I believe it's 28 and a half years. Is that correct?
Correct.
One thing that I struggled with when I was evaluating this on brownfield was the time period for that. It's going to be 28. Ferrisburg can actually tax revenue from these properties. So I struggle with making that decision 30 years out for a lot of us that may not even be around. Can you explain exactly why the time period is 28 and a half years and not something shorter?
Yeah, it's a great question. The current period, this includes interest. And again, what we were trying to get back to was, if you look at the dollar value in there and taking net present value over that time period, it ends up being, a total of about $2.5 million over that period of time. Now, net present value, that's a little shy of $1 million. So how Curtis is able to finance this and get the funds to pay for the infrastructure up front is going to a bank and borrowing against that, which they're going to loan about 75% of that, which is about $750,000. I know those numbers sound odd, but over that time period, obviously, when you factor in and assume a 6% discount rate, that amount of money in today's dollars is obviously a lot less. Based on the projections we have, and we assume that 2% inflation, that's a conservative approach. Obviously, if inflation continues where it's been, it would reimburse sooner than that period of time. But that's what it was based on. We based on a taxable value bump of about $3.2 million based on the sales prices, assumed sales prices. If those assessments come in higher, all of that will shorten the reimbursement period. I hope that answers your question. And obviously, going from where the taxable value is at right now, which is 0 because of the prior transaction, this obviously represents a long-term bump to the tax base. And that's every community looks to how can we expand our tax base. It's by adding inventory like this. And yes, it unfortunately takes a long-term plan in order to do that. It doesn't just happen overnight. I think everybody knows with interest rates where they are and construction costs, it's harder and harder to deliver a product like this without having a $750,000 price tag on homes, which that's not what people are looking for. So Curtis and his team were mindful about the product they're trying to deliver for what people need rather than want, right? That they need housing at this price point, and this program helps deliver.
Any other concerns or questions?
Is that correct? The affordable classified homes will be $269,000?
That's the current price tag. Obviously, the final will be reflective, but it's the 100% area median income units that's the target that Curtis is aiming at for those restricted.
For the restricted units.
Yep. So it would be 100% or less.
Any other comments from the public before we close the public hearing?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you. Craig, let's close the public hearing at 7:38. Moving on to 7D, discussion to take action if appropriate to approve, not approve the redevelopment project brownfield plan for the Stillwater Capital Planned Unit Development. Motion, please.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the project redevelopment brownfield project plan for Stillwater Capital.
Thank you.
Support.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Amber?
Councilmember Murdock,
Yes.
Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to 7E. Public hearing, explore the Grand Region, a community parks and rec plan in Northwest Ottawa County for 2025 to 2029. There were some notes in our packet here. Craig, did you want to review this with us?
Sure. So earlier this year's, or late in 2024, City Council approved collaborating with the 5 communities on a recreation plan where everybody has a recreation plan. It's all in one document so everybody can see what everybody's doing. This is the 3rd time that the communities have done that, so this will be the 15th year of collaborating with a 5-year plan for the communities, Tri-Cities area. The Recreation Commission has been working with Pam Blau on this, on goals and objectives of what they want to see in the parks in the future. And the document's been put together. There's a draft in that was included in your packet, not the whole document, but the parts that pertain to Ferrisburg. And so at this time, we're looking to have a public hearing on it, just getting comments from the public on anything in the plan. And then if there's any comments, we can take that back and get them incorporated into the plan. A Recreation Commission reviewed the plan at their meeting in December and made a recommendation to City Council to approve the plan.
Very good.
And this plan will make the city grant eligible for grants in the future for 5 years.
Do I need to specify the time to open a public hearing, or is
Please.
it open?
Open time to close.
Okay. What is that, 7:42? How's that grab you? Let's open that public hearing then. Anybody have any comments or concerns regarding this? William, you have anything to add?
Yeah, Craig,
Rec?
just on that, the additions from the last rec commission, we talked about installing a ADA compliant kayak launch somewhere in Ferrisburg. I don't know that we necessarily decided what.
Yeah, we can add that.
Do we have any comments from the public regarding the public hearing? No? Let's close this at 8:42, please. Close public hearing. 7:42, sorry, thank you, Bill. Okay, moving on to 7F. Discussion to take action if appropriate to approve a resolution to adopt the Explorer the Grand Region of Community Parks and Rec Plan in Northwest Ottawa County for 2025 to 2029.
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any more discussion?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Your Honor, I'm confused why, Lindquist Hartquist Dunes Preserve is, part of this, aren't they under their own charter?
But it's a park owned by the city of Ferrisburg.
It's a preserve owned by the city of Ferrisburg. And people go out there and hike and stuff.
Okay, but don't they have their own committee, they have their own charter, were they involved with this?
Yes, they've seen it. Yes, it was brought up at one of the meetings.
Okay, that's all, I was
Yeah.
just curious if they had any input on this as well, because I'm sure they would like to.
Yeah, they reviewed it. They really didn't have any comments.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, great.
It's the same question.
Okay, very good. Very good. Any other concerns? Seeing none, Amber?
Can I say one other thing?
Of course.
I would like to see, more attention taken to the Mike Herman Park too, in, Holiday Hills. I think that's a great, small park that we're not really utilizing to its most potential, maximum potential. So, I would like to see a little more emphasis put on that park. It's always well maintained. It's very beautiful and pleasant to look at, but it seems like we don't really utilize it. I'd like to see events or something at that.
Yeah, we've talked about it, and brainstormed it. How we can use it, whether that's just like a kickoff point for Ferrisburg Nature Preserve or something not in the city limits of Ferrisburg.
Okay, it's right on that border, yeah.
I think it's technically in Spring Lake Township, correct?
That's correct.
Oh.
And one of the issues out there is parking. There's really not a lot of parking for that park.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yep.
But I mean, we continue to talk about it.
Is it, okay, is this something we share in venture with Spring Lake Township, the maintenance of this, or does Ferrisburg accept all the maintenance? And
It's owned by the city of Ferrisburg.
it's owned by the city, but it's in Spring Lake Township?
Correct.
Okay, that clears, okay, I understand now, thank you. That clears up everything.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Does Little League and softball and stuff use, Herman Park?
Yeah, we had little league baseball games out there last summer.
That's part of the RF system?
I'm not sure they're part of NORA, but teams were out there practicing.
I don't know if that's part of NORA.
So this is just local kids or part of the league or?
It was a team from a league going out there to practice.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other further discussion? Seeing none, Amber?
Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sturley,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch,
Yes.
Mayor Carlson,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on to 7G, discussion and take action if appropriate to approve a quote from Granicus for $9,625 for rental management software and to adopt a resolution, raise the annual fee for the rental permit from $75 to $150.
Yes, this is software that will kind of scour the internet for rental units in the city of Ferrisburg, and will kind of track how many times it's being rented within a month and how often it's being rented in a month. And that information will be shared with the city so we can make sure that everybody is abiding by the rental ordinance and not renting for less than 7 days. Also, it will provide a hotline for if there's an issue with a rental unit, a resident can call this hotline, and within 30 to 60 minutes, that company will call the property manager and ask them to take care of this violation. As part of it, to pay for this, we're proposing to raise the rental permit from $75 to $150.
Okay.
That's an annual permit, $150.
And in our packets were a couple letters. Do we need to read those into the record? From Gene McQuaid.
Those were given us to today. The one was from Gene McQuaid. I think that was more directed at the planning commission because they're reviewing the rental ordinance right now. But you're more than, Gene McQuaid was in support of doing something to tighten the regulations for rental units. The other letter from Crystal Bolchi, she was not in favor of having the software. She had a couple issues with it, one being privacy, and I don't know what the other one was.
She talked about host compliance though, and we're going with a different software.
Right, it's basically the same platform though.
Okay.
Yes.
This software is designed to catch the short-term rentals, correct?
Right, it's going to monitor the rentals in the city.
So my question is, why are we going to increase the rental permit on all the rentals? My thought is the short-term rental should pay for this and the upkeep on the program. Why are we gonna penalize our good renters, landlords that are renting by the year or, whatever, as opposed to the problem people, which are the short-term? My thought is the short-term rentals should pay for this. Therefore, my thought would be to increase the short-term rental fee to cover the program and the software, and perhaps jump up the rental fee, annual rental permit for, like long-term from 75 maybe to 100 or something. But it's not fair for us to impose an additional fee on the landlords that are doing everything right.
And that's a true statement, that there are landlords that are following the letter of the law. But this software will also monitor for rental units that aren't being registered with the city also.
How does it do that?
They check all these websites. They go through 70 websites and see addresses in the city that are being rented.
So how does that help us enforce so I'll use my house as an example. If I post my house on apartments.com for rent, am I breaking an ordinance if I don't actually rent it out,
If you don't have a rental permit, yes.
even if it's not rented out?
If you're renting it out, if you're advertising it,
If you're advertising it, you're in violation without a rental permit.
right.
Yeah, we've just had this issue before where people advertise things, but they're not actually for rent. Right? Or they advertise on a website for 3 days, but you can't prove they've rented it.
No, it's gonna be awareness to the city that the property's being rented.
And it's something that we can, are you done, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
listening.
This is something, it's just a 1-year commitment.
Right.
Correct.
Well, the $3,600 to set up fee, that would be a loss if we didn't
Okay.
renew it next year.
Yep.
But the $6,250, whatever it is, that's our annual fee. So
That's the
it
annual
could be
fee, it's
stopped
like
next year.
$6,000.
Yep.
Your Honor,
Yes.
do you know offhand what the breakdown is to the rental properties as opposed to the short term, what the percentage is, or can you give us a number?
About a third. I think we have about 210 rental units in the city. 70 are about short-term, less than 28 days.
I do think, Mike, you do have a very valid point about long-term rentals versus short-term. Short-term is causing the problem, and they're the ones that should be paying for it.
Did all of the council read the chart that might have been emailed to us on the fees from the various cities around? You know, Ludington's 2,000 a year.
Yes.
I don't, do you have that in front of you, Craig?
I think you put it's on our
The
desk.
letter, yeah.
That's there.
See the paper, I saw it on the email.
Yeah, it's on the last page of this packet. It's on our desk. Might not be.
Well, you got it. Can you just read off some of those fees that other cities are charging?
Yeah, Traverse City does an application fee for vacation home rental license is $200. Hazel Park, the application fee is $500 with an inspection required at the time of application. Ann Arbor, each short-term rental costs $500 payable upon submission. Charlevoix, the annual license fee for a short-term rental is $300. Stevensville, there's a $300 application fee every 2 years for short-term rentals. Livingston County and the city of Brighton, all rental properties, including short-term rentals, must be registered with the city or face fines up to $500 per unregistered unit. Statewide legislation, there's a proposed bill introduce 6% tax for short-term rentals used up to and over 15 days and require all short-term rentals to have $1 million in liability insurance. Grand Rapids, the permit is $280 for the first year, with other fees assessed for each additional year. Markey Township, the initial application fee is $100 with an annual license fee of $500. And then Wayne County, Detroit has a 6% accommodations tax that short-term rental hosts must collect from guests in addition to the state use tax.
Your Honor, there are a number of short-term rental property owners that abide by the law too. You know, they're not all short-term rentals are in violation of the city code.
Understood.
Well, nobody's making an accusation that they're all in violation.
Okay.
Biggest problem we have is, number one, when there's a violation, we don't do anything to enforce it other than send them a letter and it's done over and they're gone. So this software, they have to respond within 24 hours, correct? If somebody makes a complaint.
They're contacted within 30 to 60 minutes of a complaint.
30 to 60 minutes. So I guess I would, you know, I think my thought at this point would be to table this and have Craig give us a breakdown of how many short-term rentals we have in the city and what the fee would be to pay for this. No, I'm not opposed to bumping up the,
I think Craig just told us how many short-term
70.
rentals there were in the city.
excuse me?
He just said there's 210 rental units, 70% of them are short-term rental.
No, 70 units, sir, not 70%. 70 units.
70 units of the 200.
There's only 70 in the whole city?
Short-term rentals roughly in that area.
I was under the impression there were considerably more.
Your Honor, there might be more, we just don't know.
That's
What do we currently do to find rentals that are not registered?
Currently, we have a couple of units that are not registered with the city. We've issued a final notice to each one, and the citations either being issued or are issued. We turn it over to the sheriff's department.
They issue fines,
It'll be a $50 fine.
a $50 fine.
Yes.
It's cheaper to get the citation than pay the fee.
Right.
Perhaps that's something we need to look at. To make it hurt to violate the city ordinance, more than $50.
Second offense is $250, third offense is $500.
It doesn't really make sense that our fine would be less than application.
And that's assuming we catch them. How many are being rented that we aren't catching?
Well, that's the beauty of this program.
That's right.
They're gonna catch them, and then we're not gonna have to go through this.
Is there any privacy concerns with this program? Right, I know that's brought up in one.
It's be searching the internet for properties that are being rented out. If it's on the internet, it shouldn't be a privacy issue.
So, well, my cousin is a good example. Bought a house, and 6 months after he bought the house, still listed on multiple websites as a bait and switch thing, right? So how does the software mitigate? How do we as a city? I wouldn't want to send him a
Well,
fine.
the software's not going to mitigate it. It's going to inform the city that this is being rented out, and then the city will take the proper action to try to get it registered or talk to the property owner to find out what's going on.
So you're saying there's 70 short-term rentals in the city that we're aware of.
Roughly, yes.
If we were to take this 99 grand and divide it by those 70, what would we be sitting at? I do like your thoughts.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Of course.
Instead of trying to make the math perfect, I mean, we've compared what our short-term rental fee is compared to other municipalities. It's significantly lower. To me, it feels like for the city to accommodate short-term rental owners, there needs to be a win-win, right? The gentleman that was in here earlier explained how his unit created revenue for the city. He's talking about property taxes and creating, right?
I would think so, yes.
Okay. So anybody, short-term rental or full-time resident would produce that revenue. For me, I feel like for the short-term rental properties, the annual fee should be significantly higher. I think we should even consider an accommodation tax. And then that money should go back toward the greater good for the Ferrisburg. This compliance software is a good start, but street improvement, park improvements, city beautification, those are all areas that could use additional funding, and we can produce it through this. And that's by bringing our fee up to par with other communities. That's my 2 cents.
Honor?
Yeah.
I like Jake's idea. I think the short-term rental fee should be higher. And also, though, raise the other fee also, because $75 is ridiculous, especially when you compare it to other areas. Everything needs.
Your Honor, one thing to keep in mind, though, if we raise the cost of doing business in the city for rentals, that's gonna raise the cost of rent in the city, and we already have a shortage of
Only
low-income
short-term
homes.
rentals.
So if we start raising our application fees, the landlords are gonna pass that on to the renters.
But we're talking just raising for short-term
For
rentals.
short term, yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, that's why I would favor more going short term and just rather than penalizing all the renters in the city, so. Because if we pass this to the regular rentals or the landlords who rent long term, they're gonna pass that expense on, so, yeah.
Craig? Were you able to crunch the number real quick?
For 70 units at the 9,600 is about $137 per unit. Cost,
137
yes,
annually.
yes.
What are we talking about?
Craig, what is the process for doing an accommodations tax?
I don't know, I have to look into that.
I looked a little bit at the Granicus software. It actually facilitates the collection of that through that software, so it wouldn't be something that's like it's gonna like increase your workload significantly. Bring on the software. I'm just bringing that to your attention. I think that's part of the suite.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about staff work because we collected an annual permit now. The $137, that's just for the software. That doesn't include the $75 annual permit.
Right. That was just for if short-term rentals were only gonna pay for the software.
How much to pay for everything, to pay for the management software and the setup, the whole 9 yards?
The $9,600 divided by the 70 units is $137 per unit.
Per year.
Yes.
So for $137, we're gonna raise it from 75 to $137 to pay for.
We gotta add the $75 for the registration on top of that.
Okay. So it'd be $75
Plus 130
application, plus 137 rental fee
for the software, yep.
for the software. So for $137, we're wasting how many hours? You need a motion, Your Honor?
Yes, I do.
I would make a motion that we buy the software from rental management software from Granicus and increase the rental, the short-term rental permits for the software to what'd you say, Craig, one?
It'd be $212.50.
Per year.
Yes. And then the long-term rentals would be $75.
You wanna raise that
I
a
think
little
we
bit?
should raise it.
What, 25?
It needs to be up. It's, I mean, compare it here. We're
For-
like ridiculously low.
Well, Craig's asking if we want to change the long-term
Yes,
rental, not short-term.
long-term.
Or the short-term is in the motion, correct?
Yes. So
Yes.
what are you proposing cost for long-term? Are you going with the 150 that Craig recommended?
No, I would say jump it up $25 to 100, because they still have to pay an application fee yearly and inspections, correct?
So the short-term rental is gonna be $212.50 or $215 to round it up.
So it'd be the permit fee plus whatever you told us to manage the software in that software program.
To round it up, let's use $215.
That covers everything.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll increase the short-term rental to $215 per year.
Okay.
Increase the annual rental permit for long-term from 75 to 100. Or whatever else anybody wants to make a motion for. Let's just do the short-term first.
Can we discuss, or are we?
Yeah.
Right now?
Say
Okay.
the support.
So that is a motion
For the short-term.
for short-term.
Okay.
We have support?
Support.
Okay. Thank you. Discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure before we vote on this tonight, instead of just coming up with numbers on the fly here as a council, that we're not going to give this any greater thought. We're just going to raise the number to cover this, the software fees, and then we're going to be done with this. Is that the approach that we're taking? Because I personally, as a council member, want to know what the city gets in return from short-term landlords. What is our benefit by accommodating them?
We're paying a higher tax, property tax rate, number one. They can't homestead it.
What's the difference in that, Craig, between, the property tax that someone that owns a short-term rental versus someone?
If they don't have the principal residence exemption, they pay an extra 18 mil school operating. There's no additional benefit to the city.
And you can still homestead it.
Yes, you can.
You can still have a home, I can short-term rental my house when I go out of town, as long as you register it.
Right, you're entitled to one principal residence exemption.
Yes. I wonder if this would be something that want to table, that Craig give us some more facts. Everybody put their 2 cents in and put it on the work session for the next meeting.
Another option would be the planning commission is looking at this rental ordinance. Maybe table it and let the planning commission look at the ordinance and see what kind of changes are gonna be made, and then come back to city council with the cost of the software.
Would they have the ability to set the rental rates?
No, we would do that, staff would do that, but we want to see if how much the ordinance is gonna change, if any.
I'm all for tabling this.
We can table it, but the caveat is gonna be that we always send out rental registrations January 1st. So if by tabling this, we're gonna keep it at the rental permit for 2025, the same rate as 2024. So any change is gonna be effective 2026.
We already tabled this one.
I'm open to whatever you want.
I would support putting the short-term rentals at the 150 so that we all roll. I think that software is beneficial. Planning review.
That's workable.
So where'd you get the 150?
That's what you put in our packet.
Oh.
It's 215.
It said 137 additionally.
Just for the purchase.
Okay, so 215 then, sorry.
I wrote down 215 for short-term rentals.
Yeah, 215.
Okay.
That will pay for the software and get the ball rolling, and then the planning commission can come up with any different regulations or rules that they want to bring to us, correct?
Yep.
Well, and then if they find through their research that every community out there charges $500, then we'll come back and talk about it.
Next year.
We can talk
It's
about
too
it
late.
now, it
It's
just
too
won't
late.
go into effect
Right.
until next year.
But now we'll pay for the software.
The motion will get the ball rolling.
And that 215 will cover staff costs, right? Or only the?
Well, the $75 registration will pays for the staff.
Okay.
And so $215 for short-term rentals, $75 for long-term rentals.
Okay.
Okay, let's break this down to short-term rentals as one motion. So long-term rentals is a different.
Do we have a motion on the floor now?
Yes.
We do.
Okay.
We have a motion for the 215.
Excuse me.
Point of order.
We have a, Bill O'Kane seconded the motion. So we have a motion and support on the floor.
At
And,
215 for short-term rentals per year.
That's correct.
So this motion is only for the short-term rentals and the cost of the software, correct?
How I have it worded is discussion and to take action if appropriate to approve a quote from Granicus for $9,625 for rental management software and to adopt a resolution to raise the annual fee for a rental permit from $75 to $215 for short-term rentals per year.
That's the motion I made.
That's the motion.
That's it.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Craig, are we gonna have to, or is city staff gonna have to do a new permit specifically for short-term rentals now?
Well, we'll just adjust our form that we send out.
Okay.
Seeing no further discussion, Amber?
Okay. Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Sterling.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Good. Moving forward to 7H, approve the mayor's appointment of Greg Gadbois to the Recreation Commission for a term ending July 1st, 2026. And his application was in your packet. Would entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to appoint Greg Gadbois to the Recreation Commission for a term ending July 1, 20.
Support.
Your Honor?
Yes.
William, you interviewed Mr. Gaddis?
We did not interview him, but several of our Rec Commission members have support. Enthusiasm.
All right, thank you.
Good. Go ahead.
Councilmember Sturley.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Good. Moving on to 7H, or 7I, excuse me. Discussion and take action if appropriate to schedule a work session as a regular agenda item on January 20th. What did you have on your,
My suggestion was to keep working on 2025 goals, refine them a little bit.
okay? So that's gonna push 7J till the next work session, is that correct?
No, I think once, it doesn't need to be unless you want to, but I was thinking we would probably want to do some goals or action items we want to do for the 2025 goals at the next meeting,
Tonight?
at the work session.
Tanner?
Yes.
Do we want to address the long-term rental fees? Or are we just gonna leave it as it is?
Thought that would be in planning. Planning.
Long-term.
Well, long-term.
Long-term.
Yeah, the long-term.
Yeah, we'll just leave it as is for now. We'll mail the registration letters out this week probably.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, in preparation for that, to Mike's point, can you pull some data for us for what other communities are charging
Yes.
for long-term specific?
Yep.
Along that same vein, Craig, do we have any idea in terms of what kind of administrative time this is gonna take to enforce these short-term rentals?
To enforce?
For administratively, is the software gonna create more work or less work in our, over the course of the next year, when we've got our new fees going, we need to take a look at it and say, hey, is staff sucking up more staff time than what we thought, and we need to charge more?
I'm hoping it's gonna take some more staff time that we're gonna be made aware of certain things
Yes.
that we're not aware of now, so we can follow up on it. But that's the goal.
Is planning commission gonna discuss the fining numbers as well, Craig?
For penalty?
Yeah.
That'll be a city council decision because it's a city code.
We should have that.
They
on
need
the
to go up.
Agenda sooner than later. It makes no sense to have a fine that's less than our permit.
Understood. Anybody else have anything to add to work session for the 20th? Okay. Okay, moving on to 7J work session review of the 2024 city council goals and proposed 2025 city council goals. When we got your late in the day email today.
Yeah, so my thoughts on these goals, I sort of check these off in a vacuum, so if anyone has any comments or changes, please let me know. But I wanted to have a way to communicate with the public exactly what this council and the city staff and volunteers have accomplished over the last year. With no changes to the composition of city council. Personally, I don't feel that it makes sense to just erase everything and start new goals. But I do think it would make sense to sort of recalibrate, look at the goals that we haven't accomplished, talk about if they're still priorities, and then just adding additional goals on what we're here.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I do notice that a lot of the goals, go on year to year, you know, like maintain budget, roads, so, yeah, those are kinda not worth discussing maybe, but some of the specific goals maybe are more discussing.
Yeah, so I guess what I would suggest is you have that overarching goal of, you know, improving and maintaining a balanced budget, right? So what sort of subtasks can you do, or what goals can we set for this council or the city staff to improve that and make it better?
I mean, it's a good goal. I mean, we should have that every year, you know, that's something to strive for, obviously. But yeah, there's, how many of these goals are incomplete this year?
Yeah, it's on the front page, but 5, and the one in community
What is-
competence and safety, I would say is halfway there.
Yeah.
I just didn't have half a check mark.
Okay. We got, don't have.
Yeah, so there should be a packet, Jerry.
Take that one.
Thank you.
Yep. Because some of these we're just gonna carry over to the next goals.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start and say, you know, is there anything, we did when we shared these with the public, we did share these as 2024, 2025 strategic goals. So on this, I don't know that I would remove anything necessarily unless there's something that's just simply not important, where situations have changed or scenarios it's no longer important to us. But I would suggest keeping it similar to what it is now, and then we can quick walk through additional proposed city goals and see if there should add to it.
Yes.
Should we put a, like a, page on the city website where we've, because a lot of the stuff I'm reading here, we've already addressed. You know, like, Parks and Recreation, that we've approved all that.
Yeah. You have this packet, and Craig left it for everyone.
Yeah, this
No,
is it.
there's one Craig left tonight. No, this one is all checked off what we've accomplished so far.
Oh, I
And
don't
then
have the check.
It has a summary of everything that we've
So, is it on our website, the goals that we have accomplished?
I don't think we've checked them off yet.
No, not checked off, but this document is up there.
So this is sort of what I'm proposing.
Put this on the website?
The old goals on the website, not the new goals.
I'm proposing we maintain these goals, and then tonight, go through, add any additional goals.
It's our list.
Right? I'm open to removing some of those if you want, right? If you're adamant about them or
Oh, no,
something has
no, no.
changed. But yeah, I still want to go through the other proposals and see if there's anything we should add.
Okay.
So the check means
But
that we've made progress as a city on
We've
these?
So I would say the check is we've completed this or
Some of these items can't necessarily be completed, right? Like they're an ongoing,
Yeah.
it's kind of a fluid quest to
but
to
at this
accomplish
point,
things.
we're achieving that.
Well, like the secure parks and recreation property, that's in process.
Sure, and we should annotate on there, not a check mark, but at least, you
In
know, something in
process. Yeah,
italics that it's
yeah.
in process.
Yeah.
Same with the last one, you know, we should show that, you know, at least 4 of 8 proposals have, or 9 proposals have been passed, right? And at least show the community that we're making progress towards these goals. They're not complete yet.
Another one too, they enhance the business environment and attract new business. You know, we created a redevelopment district in the city that allowed for liquor licenses to be issued. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, so I didn't have that in Craig's notes. We should definitely add that. I agree. Yep.
Got it?
Yes.
You know, like enhance business environment stuff, if we put a check mark there, on the city website and say, well, we have this new Stillwater development, we had this other development. Not just put a check mark and say, it's done.
Yeah,
Say-
if you look in the next pages, Mike, it breaks everything.
I got one more.
So it explains all of that based on the feedback Craig gave us.
I'm confused by all this. Why can't we just take the goals that were submitted to the city hall this year, for this year, and implement them? Why do we gotta go through and check what we've done and what we've not done and what needs to be done? Here's a list of the goals. Let's do it. I don't understand all this.
Because we set goals last year and we didn't accomplish all of them.
Okay, so let's get to them, let's do them. Why, all this one we did, this one we didn't do, that, let's get a list of goals and accomplish them.
That's what
This is
that's what
making
we
it way too complicated.
that's what we have here is a list of goals, and now we're talking about, do we want to add any additional goals? It's all
Well,
about
obviously we
transparency
do,
to our
and
citizens.
Obviously, we do because people added them to the fall. So obviously, we have other goals we want to put on here. Correct? I don't understand all,
So can I say something, Jerry? So we create these goals so we can be accountable to citizens.
Okay.
Okay, so we go through and then we say, we evaluate, did we accomplish these or did we not accomplish these?
Okay.
And if we did, then we report back to the public what we accomplished. And if we didn't, then we recreate that goal and pursue it again in 2025.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So why, so how, if you want to report it to the public, fine, put this on our webpage and they can look for themselves and seeing what we've accomplished. But why are we discussing things that we've accomplished? We should be discussing things that need to be accomplished, which is this list.
And don't you think some of the things that are on the old list that weren't accomplished still need attention?
Exactly, and most of them, and all of them are on the new
Not all
list.
of them are on there. There's 12 items on that list.
Well, then put them on the list. That's all I'm saying. If that was important to city council members, that the things that weren't accomplished last year need to be accomplished, then they should have put them on this year's proposal.
Okay.
I don't understand, this is making things, let's just make a list of goals and get to it, period.
If we don't evaluate what we've done, then how do you know where you're at? How can you just create goals and say, I've got goals, and then not reconcile any of those goals, and then create a new list and say, we've got new goals again?
Well,
How
then,
are you
Jake,
making progress
That's
for
your
the city?
responsibility to take what we didn't accomplish last year and put it on the new list and get it done.
And that's what we're doing right now. We're reconciling what we accomplished and what we didn't accomplish, and what we did not accomplish in last year. We'll move forward to the
Okay,
following.
I'm just saying, this is getting way, this.
Let's start on here.
Let's just make a
review
list
what
and
we
go
have here.
forward.
If
That's
it's
all I'm
not
saying.
captured on this, then we.
So we'll start in fiscal responsibility. So, under fiscal responsibility, we've completed the comprehensive benchmarking analysis of salaries for city employees. There's no need to carry that along, correct? But that's an accomplishment. And same thing for approve and maintain the balanced budget. That's something that we're always doing. Is it on the radar? Yes. It's a goal.
Your Honor, can I say
Yes.
something? I don't think we need to sit here and applaud ourselves for our accomplishments. Let's talk about the things that we need to accomplish. That's all. All this accomplishment, that's great. But why are we wasting time on it? Let's move on. It's done, it's over, we accomplished it. Portray it to the public on our internet.
Jerry, we have about 12 points here to go through. I've
Okay.
already gone through 2 of them.
All right, go ahead. If you want to take all the time to talk about the things that we've done,
I think the rest of the council wants to participate in this.
That's
And
fine.
if you don't, you can sit out.
No, that's fine. Go
So-
ahead.
So in the fiscal responsibility section, one of the recommendations from council was to try to keep taxes from going higher. So that's a statement. We can make that a smart goal. Any comment on that?
I mean, of course we want to try.
agree.
It's more of a guiding statement.
It's a,
Right.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
given.
Okay.
Nobody wants to pay more tax. but-
I agree. Looking at the list, I think that's all of Yeah, I think that's all for that section. If you want to jump to infrastructure and economic development, Your Honor.
First on the list was to develop a city infrastructure prioritization and funding plan.
So that was something that Matt put together,
Yep.
correct, Craig?
Correct.
So that was a huge undertaking, so thank you. Please pass on to him, Craig.
Secure funding for Smith's Bridge. We're on a good glide path for that, Craig. Correct,
Yes.
we're on a good glide path for that.
Is there anything, I know on our goals, somebody mentioned finalized plans to rebuild Smith's Bridge. That's semantics. Is there anything, is there a next step for that goal that we should add, Craig?
Is there, like, that, something we could talk about at the next meeting, action, what do you want to do with that goal? Do you want to have, different improvements on that bridge at a city cost? I mean,
Okay.
we're doing the lights, which is gonna be a city cost. There shouldn't be any other cost for the pedestrian path, but is there anything else that city council would like to see happen on that bridge and pay for it?
Your Honor,
Yes.
according to the rec plan, we'd like to see bike path on that bike lane or bike path on the Smiths Bridge.
Correct.
Now, would that be something that would be additional cost to the city?
No, no additional cost.
And how about fishing platform?
That is not included in the design at this time. Just the sidewalk on the bayou side.
So this, Jerry, where Jake was talking about, knowing where we're at so we know where to go. We know that we've accomplished securing funding. What's the next step? Now we want to secure additional funding or things like a fishing platform or architectural lights on it or whatever.
Are lights
That-
included at all?
That would be our next goal is,
Okay, and if that was important to a council member, they could have put it on this list and we could put it on the work session. Why are we spending so much time discussing
So
it?
moving on then, foster collaboration with neighboring communities.
We've done
it's
that.
ongoing.
What is meant by collaborating with neighboring municipalities? Getting along with?
Well, we do the connector path, bike path that we co-op with Grand Haven, Spring Lake and Ferrisburg, correct, Craig?
Yeah, we mentioned, cities recently approved 2 projects collaborating with neighboring municipalities, the area-wide recreation plan, which includes Grand Haven Charter Township, City of Grand Haven, Village of Spring Lake Township, and Ferrisburg. We also maintain a policing agreement, which includes Spring Lake Township. So that's working with these municipalities, partnering with these municipalities to provide services to our residents while keeping their costs lower than what it would be if we did all of this on our own.
Going back to the bridge, can we have that put in some kind of a work session, like the fisherman's platform?
Yeah, we can do that.
I feel that's a safety issue. I see those fishermen hanging off the sidewalk. It's kind of dangerous.
Your Honor?
Yes.
One thing I'd like to bring up is, we still got dirt roads in Ferrisburg. I would like to include, like when we're doing a project close to one of the, roads that are not paved, that we pave them. We got, 3 streets that aren't paved?
Are those in Matt's infrastructure plan, Craig?
Yeah, so the end of Fifth Street's not paved.
You got Highland, you got, what's the one by the old city hall, that short street there?
That's Fifth Street.
Got one on the other side of the highway.
Roosevelt Road,
Yeah, Roosevelt.
and Highland is a private street.
Not responsible.
Highland, from the curve, it's dirt going up and then you take a right to West Spring Lake Road. The other way is private, but both sides are private?
Yes.
The whole thing is private?
Highland, Royal, and Lake are all private streets.
I did not realize Highland was private.
Do we have a plan to pave the other dirt roads, Craig, that are city owned?
Nah, this time, no. We did talk about it when we were doing Fifth Street. We paved it a number of years ago. We included plans to pave the dirt road, but the residents on the dirt road came to city council and asked it not to be paved.
Interesting.
No, as I recall, they didn't want it paid because there was gonna be a special assessment.
They were concerned that their property taxes would be raised.
No, as I recall, there was a special assessment involved at that time.
The city was gonna pay for it.
Okay, I just wanted to kick
But
that.
those city ones are prioritized on Matt's list,
Correct.
some prioritization.
Yes.
All right, as far as, additional, maintain roads and, in cooperation with Ottawa County, improve pedestrian safety by installing controls that would activate stop signal at the crosswalk between Coast Guard Park and Ottawa Sands Park. So that's an infrastructure thing that was requested. I don't know who that came from, but it seems to make sense. Anyone part of opposed? Craig, do you have any comments on that?
Well, that crosswalk now that is put there by Coast Guard Park and Ottawa Sands was installed by Ottawa County Parks and maintained.
And does it have a function where they can?
No, it flashes yellow all the time.
Yeah.
It's got lights around the pedestrian crossing sign that just flash all the time. And it's gotten to the point where drivers don't even see it.
Yeah. That's something we should probably, I mean, is there opposition to adding this to our goals? More funding for this?
Well, at the time that was installed, Ottawa Sands was parking in Coast Guard Park, right, Craig?
Correct.
Now they have their own parking lot.
Correct.
So I'm not sure how high on the priority list that should be. I insisted at the time that we put that flasher up there, crosswalk, because all the traffic was coming from Coast Guard Park to Ottawa Sands. Well, now that they have their own parking and stuff, I don't know as.
I think that might be good. More?
Flashing is fine. I don't know if we need to have a pedestrian crosswalk there.
Okay.
We're like with a stop sign.
That makes sense. All right. Any other comments on that?
We could expand the crosswalks though, because at the planning commission, where they talk about the master plan, there's some discussion on putting crosswalks, make it safer to cross Pine Street between Third Street and Ridge Avenue. So if you want, you could put that as a goal.
Okay. So I'd support that, just the crosswalk safety.
Yeah.
You draft something like that up, Craig, and we can put it on there.
Yep.
Good. That was all for infrastructure.
Yep.
Can't say business. So last year, we had enhanced the business environment and attract new businesses. I don't know that we've accomplished that yet. Sure. Anyone disagree?
That we haven't or have?
Nah.
I think we have. We've got the new storage buildings by Leffings. We got the new, we just approved this project here. We got Pine Street, their liquor license. I'm not sure what's going on with the old Pizza Hut, but.
Something's going.
I think
okay.
we made
That's fair.
progress toward
Yeah.
the goal, but I don't know that if you were to ask citizens,
They would
accomplish that
know.
goal, that they would say yes.
What are we going to do and where are we going to do it?
Right.
I mean, we have a suggestion, we put parking on both sides of Pine Street. Or why? So the marina can have more parking. There's going to be no more businesses there. Unless somebody buys 2 or 3 houses to put a business in there. And the financial reality is it's probably never gonna happen. So, we have a vacant lot on, crossing the bank there by the old Piggy's Pant, next to Pizza Hut. We got a couple pieces over on Van Wagner. That's about the extent of our vacant property, isn't it, Craig? And you may have a lot here or there, but I mean, the commercial.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so we don't have, I mean, we could put that on a goal, we wanna bring a GM plan in here. Well, where in the heck are you gonna put it?
Well, that's why your goals have to be attainable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see,
To me, I think this was one of my goals last year. And one of the things that I wanted the city to do, for us to do, were to look at ordinances to see if there's anything to be adjusted or accommodating for business. I had one business owner complain to me that we have a sign ordinance that limits their signage, that they don't think they can market their business as well as they could. Again, I'm not saying that we haven't made progress. Clearly we have, but the things that we can continue to do, I think so. But I haven't been.
I think that makes sense.
Your Honor, and I know that the Economic Development project recommended a lot of that to the Planning Commission, and I don't know where the Planning Commission is with feels that given to them by the Economic Development, but yeah, a lot of this stuff is should be already in the works. Specifically the sign ordinance, that was one of the recommendations from the Economic Development planning to look at, and recommendation parking as well. What we're trying to do is promote a downtown, promote businesses coming in, and if there's no parking, why would they even?
where is there to look, Jerry?
Well, like you said, the corner of 104 and 174th, that's all open. Maybe we need to reinvent our city. Maybe we need to start looking at other things, attract new businesses here that would be purchase the existing businesses for expansion. There's a lot of things. We need to start really starting to reimagine our city. Well, I think by promoting parking and promoting expansion and following what the Economic Development Committee did and said, and give plans or recommendation to the Planning Commission, I think that's a good start.
I think to Mr. Sturley's point, maybe we should address the sign issue. The biggest complaint I hear from business owners, they can't have the electronic flashing signs. I don't know if that was what was addressed.
I just use it more as an example. I would personally, I see it more looking at it from a macro level. That's one ordinance. Maybe there's other ordinances too that give businesses more freedom to market themselves or more financial flexibility. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of riffing here, but I'm hoping that maybe at a macro level we can look at more ordinances than just one, and perhaps change those and make it a more business-friendly environment.
Yeah, I think, keeping that goal and then using those different examples to pass on to our commissions and as well as utilizing work sessions, for us to move forward. Parks, Your Honor?
Yes. Funding phase 1.
Yep, so we funded phase 1 tentatively. For Firebarn Park, prioritizing safety. We've just approved a 5-year Parks and Recreation plan. Secure Parks and Recreation property to satisfy federal grant requirements. Now, fingers crossed.
Yes.
So let's just look at our council presented goals. Is there anything else? I would say the Creedon Arts Committee or Council falls under that. As well as enhancements to Coast Guard Park.
How about signage?
Yeah, we have that on community competence and safety. It can go either, but yeah, we talked about that in the next report. So we'll start with the Arts Council. Is that something, create an Arts Council or committee? That's something this council wants to pursue?
And that was one of my goals, and I have spoken to several residents that would really like to see that move forward. I think that it opens a lot of new opportunities for the city and for the parks, and bringing in new business, new artistic, values to the city. I think it could really do a lot of things, so.
What would you envision that committee doing?
Well, several things. I think we could start having art in the parks. I think we could decorate our city hall a little bit, put some art on the walls of the city hall. That, or maybe artists could sell their portraits off the city, up out of City Hall, off the walls, like they do kind of in the community center. If you've been there, artists are able to put their art on the wall and sell it through there, you know, and at the same time, it brightens up the community center. So just a lot of different things. Yeah.
Do we think those are things the beautification committee could do?
Well, I don't know. I think the beautification committee has a lot on their
We have
hands
a
already.
lot.
You know,
Thank
so-
you very much.
Yeah,
Your Honor?
yeah.
But I
What
do
ab-
like
what-
the art in the park.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, dude. Are you done? What about the rec commission?
It hasn't been brought to us, but we could.
Well, I mean, kick that, the beautification committee is overworked. And there's a bunch of elderly, to
Thank
put
you,
it politely.
Thanks a lot.
Well,
But I do
they're-
like the art in the
They're all in
park.
their sixties and seventies. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, I'm
we don't
not-
wanna put more load on it. But the rec commission, you have younger people that are more into, to perhaps to Jerry's suggestion, to more agreeable to that.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to either one. I think they're good ideas, Jerry. I just I don't want another committee that doesn't have a quorum. You know,
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think there would be plenty of support for it. I think it would, yeah, I think it would go well. In this,
I would think you'd see a group of citizens get together and come to us, but I could happen. I just don't see that happening right now.
Oh, well then.
They need to present a vision, right, to the
Yeah.
council?
Yeah.
And then figure out if that's a fit for our city government, right? I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I just think, I just think it could play a big role in, like I said before, reimagining the city, bring in outside talent, it'll bring in outside monies. We could have arts in the parks, we could do murals in the city, or, the paintings. There's this, I mean, this is just off the top of my head. You get a group of people together with artistic values. I don't have an artistic bone in my body, so, this is not something that is in up my alley, but it's something that I've had residents come up to me and ask, why aren't we doing things that other communities are doing to preserve the arts and to, to influence the arts and push the arts forward. So, it's just, yeah.
Your Honor, Jerry, I think most of us are agreeable to that. If you wanna get some citizens together and present some kind of plan or vision to the city council, I'm sure we're more than happy to discuss it. The question would be, we're probably not gonna set up a separate committee for it, as opposed to maybe giving it to the rec commission to run with your vision. You know what I'm saying?
Or city staff, if it's,
Yeah.
commissioning art.
Certainly open to listen to anything that that the citizens bring forward. So if you want to try to get some citizens together and get a vision, be more than happy to listen and support you.
No, that's fine. Yeah, fair enough.
So with accomplishing all three parks and recreation goals, is there any opposition to adding enhanced safety in Coast Guard Park by installing lighting bollards along the western portion of the walking path? Other than
Didn't I see lighting improvement in the 5-year plan?
it is in the 5-year. Just typically here.
So long, what's a few more
Well,
years?
my thought is that at this point,
Yeah, I know.
because we are going to get the property to offset our legal situation with grants and such what, perhaps that's something we could grant for, or future. Rather, city pay, if we get a grant for 50/50, this point, I would say let's wait until, as far as the parks, what we have approved, go forward with. But anything in the future, because we will be qualifying for federal and state funding, correct, Craig?
Correct. So some of these things that we're talking about here, like Arts Council or lighting at Coast Guard Park, we should add that to the list, and then at the next meeting, the work session, talk about action steps and how we're gonna accomplish it and when. So we should just make a list right now and then get into the nitty-gritty at the next meeting.
Well, but the problem with that is we won't be able to get right for grant applications until the deal at City Hall's finalized, correct? And we actually have physical custody of that property.
Correct, and grant applications all due April 1st, and we're not working on a grant application at this time.
So it wouldn't be until 2026.
Now, well, I'm not
2027
sure, I'm
anyway.
just saying that, you know, we have to be realistic. That federal and state funding to improve our parks, why are we paying the full shot?
Can I say something real quick, Mike? Just to be clear on that 1 acre and our grant eligibility, that increases our points in these
Right.
grant. It
Doesn't
doesn't
guarantee
guarantee
it.
anything. It's not like a spigot's gonna open and the city hall's gonna be full of money.
Right, but we have a chance
We have a fighting chance.
of getting the right. Now we are flat out of it.
Right.
All right. Community conference?
Yes. And section 3 of the city charter.
So we're halfway there.
Right.
We tried.
So we're halfway there, so we can have a work session to discuss
Yes.
future opportunities. Enhanced city branding, both physically and online. So Craig, I know you said you're going out for bid for a digital sign. Is that the extent of how we want to brand our city?
It's up to council.
I'm asking you guys.
I like that.
Well, I will say this, I know I've talked to Rich about this in recent past, about potentially finding or rebranding our city with a slogan, something around parks or an outdoor recreation. Something that encompasses kind of more of what our city is. The Ottawa Peninsula, I'm not sure. If you were to read that slogan, I'm not sure you know much about Ferrisburg, except for some geography, perhaps. So that's when we talk about that. That's kind of what we're talking about. Is trying to give the city a face.
So I think we're in agreement to keep that as one of our goals.
Yep.
Okay. Implement communications plan for information sharing. So this is something I think we've done better, but we can continue to do better, is how we communicate with the public and sharing what we do and what we don't do and what they want, how we're meeting that. Live streaming. Sound has been better, knock on wood, over the past year. But we have a long way to go. Any thoughts on keeping or removing that goal? All right. Recommendations. We had number 6, a council member recommended improving city signage, welcome signs, enhance the appearance of the entrance of Coast Guard Park. Name of the park is on the base of the channel marker is nearly obscured by bushes that have grown too high. The channel marker is also in need of a fresh coat of paint. So all of those things I think are really like just do it. Like go to the city and ask for it to get done. Or bring it to the rec commission. Open to adding any of those. City rebranding around the idea of being a small town with big outdoor recreation opportunities. Again, it goes to Jake's point of enhancing the city branding. Any others that weren't on the list that they feel we could add to better improve the community confidence and safety?
idea. That.
Okay. All right.
Work session.
Anything else? No. Craig, do you have notes and we can get together and draft this for approval for the council?
Yes.
Okay, now it's time for public comments. Do we have any public comments?
Rebecca Happ, former mayor, P.O. Box 85, Ferrisburg 49409. I'd like to first read what Carlson read at the beginning of the meeting. It states, "Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. However, 7G was discussed prior to a motion being made. The motion was made, a vote was taken, and you never recognized any member of the public to speak. So, might be important for you to review Robert's Rules of Order and do some follow-up with MML for educational purposes. So this is what I was going to speak during 7G. Carlson, it would be nice if you made eye contact with the speaker. I'll wait.
Carlson?
Here we go. My concern tonight is regarding the yearly rental fee increase that you propose to covering yearly management of the software system, which, if it was not for me, December 16, during council meeting, you would have automatically voted doubled our fees, and this discussion that you had tonight would have never occurred. I researched the software program, and its sole purpose is for monitoring and tracking short-term rentals in their communities. The software program does not track or monitor any long-term renter activities. Long-term and short-term renters have different business models and should never be categorized together. We own a workforce, long-term rental property in the city of Ferrisburg. Affordable workforce housing is high demand for Ottawa County and especially Northwest Ottawa County. The purpose of the software program is used to capture information related only to short-term rentals. I did the research for you. City of Holland, $85 a year for short-term and long-term rental fees on a yearly basis. That increased $10 from last year. City of Saugatuck, $525 for short-term rental fees. I wasn't able to find any long-term rental fees there. City of Grand Haven, $160 for short-term rental, $100 a year for long-term rentals. Spring Lake Township, $100 every 3 years for short-term rentals, no fee for long-term. Spring Lake Village, $500 for short-term, $30 for long-term. Long-term rentals should not be penalized by doubling our fees to offset the cost of the software program yearly support in their fees, which is specifically designed to assist staff to more effectively capture information related solely to short-term rentals. So there's your local communities and what they charge out for long-term. The Attorney General will be notified of this council's lack of allowing public to speak during an agenda item.
Mr. Ainsworth.
Kelvin Ainsworth, 17966 Mohawk. Couple comments. First, I would like to start out, thank you for your service, volunteers, and your time. I came here tonight to just kind of hear, let's see, G, the action on short-term rentals, what was going on with that, what's going on with the software. I knew nothing about it, and I wanted to hear what City Council had to say. It was obvious sitting back there that none of you had any expertise in this or have done any due diligence in researching it. maybe, no offense to you, Craig, maybe you have, but it was obvious none of you knew anything about this. And then okay, it's gonna cost close to 10 grand a year. So you're taking like 70 people's money. I'm like, all right, let's double that, triple that, or whatever to cover the experiment that we're gonna try for a year to pay for this. And to me, that's bull crap, you know? And then I respectfully listened to each of you back there and your comments. And when it came time, after respectfully listening to you, I wanted to make a comment. I had my hand up for like 2 minutes. Even the woman, Rebecca Hott here in front of me, saw my hand up, but none of you saw my hand up. And right here in public comments, it says, time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. And I had some comments for you before you voted, and not one of you recognized me or allowed me to make a comment. And again, that's bullcrap, and highly disappointed in each one of you. Regarding the software, again, I've been involved in a rental house for close to 50 years. I don't know whether if it's considered a short-term or a long-term rental. We rent it out by the week in the summer, and starting in the fall, we rent it out for the winter months. Probably 80% of the people that we rent to come back the following year. Very rarely do we put it on like a website to rent it out, maybe when we have an open week or something like that. So, you know, again, the software that you're talking, that you just, again, raised our fees to pay for the next year. You know, anybody knows that's in the rental business, good way to just get around that is typically when a person rents and they like the place, we want to come back the next year or next time. Let's not go through the website. Let's just do a little side deal. So we've never done that, but we stick to the 7-day. But I'm sure other people, renters, possibly do that to get around. So that software is not going to pick up that. You know, and anybody that does that is smart enough to know that. So, you know, you're just wasting 10 grand. You know, I don't mind you raising the fees for something that's going to like a good cause. Like if you say like George Dodd or somebody in the office, you know, needs more money to do the inspections or whatever. But, you know, you're just playing with our money just to experiment with some software that's a waste of money. And anyways, talk to me. Tell me, why was I not recognized back there when I had a comment on this before you voted?
In my defense, sir, where you were sitting and where I sit, I can't see you.
Right, because this is in the way. Right.
I couldn't see neither one of us. If I'd have saw you, I would definitely.
I couldn't see you either. I had to count.
And for the record, sir, let me say one thing. Debbie Murdoch did bring it to the mayor's attention that Rebecca wanted to speak, and the mayor plainly said, I don't want to listen to her right now. So if you want to blame anybody, the blame is in the mayor. He wasn't willing to listen to anybody, and that's where the blame lies.
Well, why weren't you willing to listen to anybody?
Good question. You're exactly right, sir. You are right. You are both right. You should have been able to speak, but the mayor refused to allow you to speak. If you want to know the truth, that's the truth. That's what occurred up here this evening.
Well,
so I would have brought it up myself, but if the mayor's refusing to allow you to speak, then nothing can be done about it.
All right. Well, I just think you should do your due diligence on this
This
software
was
before you
discussed.
waste 10 grand.
This was
of my
discussed
money.
last month. We discussed this already one time. We were already talking about this at length in December, and we tabled it because Mike thought we should get more information, which Craig got it for us.
Okay.
I live in a nice neighborhood. There is a short-term rental across the lake from me that is terrible, and I want it monitored because I'm sick of tired of them having music playing at 4 in the morning, screaming, crying, laughing all night long. in my neighborhood, I want this program because I'm tired of it. And I don't know who to call now other than the police.
Why don't you call the police? That's
Well,
what
I
would do.
have, but this is going to be better.
Can I say something?
So like, you think if at 2 or 3 in the morning, if I had like a bad renter and somebody calls me,
Oh,
you
this
think,
goes on all
you
the
think I'm
time.
gonna have my phone on at 2 or 3 in the
How do I
morning?
know who owns the house? I don't know. I don't know because it's constant new people being rented. I don't know the owner. And I don't like it because our neighborhood is a nice, quiet
Well-
neighborhood, and I hate it. So this is going to stop that.
Well, I'm sure you can find out who the owner is very easily, especially if you're on the city council.
Well, I'm not going to confront them today in today's world with people with guns. I'm not going to do that, but this program will.
Well, how's the program gonna?
Can I say something, Mr. Ainsworth?
Sure.
So,
Yeah, you were all about like public input, and now we can get that, earlier.
I was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, I actually did spend a couple hours researching this software today.
Okay,
I
thank you.
think I mentioned it to Craig that
I apologize.
he could use it to potentially invoice fees to landlords. So I am familiar with the software. I think it's unfortunate that you're accusing all of us of not doing any due diligence. We're volunteers, sir.
Right, that's what
I
the
took a
first thing
couple-
I said, I thank you for your
I
volunteer.
took a couple hours out of my day today and tried to learn about this software so I could make the best decision for the city and for the citizens that live in the city. Now, you're one of those citizens. I assume that you live in the city, correct?
That I do.
Okay. And so when we evaluate this, we're evaluating things for the best, for the greater good of the city. This is about enforcement of complaints with this software. Right now, the methodology, if there's a problem with a short-term rental, is to either call the city or to call the police. And you know what I've heard from citizens when they call the city tells them to call the police. And when they call the police, you know what they tell them? Call the city. So where does that leave them? This software has a 24/7 hotline that any citizen from Ferrisburg can call and make a complaint that allows for enforcement of our ordinances to be more easily done. That's why I approved it, is to make Craig's job easier. Craig is one man in this city. He is the one-man code enforcer in this city. So what we could do is we could pay $9,000 for software, or maybe we could go hire someone for $50,000 to $60,000 to enforce code in the city. What do you think is the best decision?
I don't know how the software is gonna enforce that. What's it, do you generate a letter?
It does generate a
phone
letter.
call? Yeah. They can do that right now.
Yes, he's one man that wears about 20 different hats.
Well-
And we're trying to make his job easier by approving a $9,000 expenditure for a software that's gonna make his job easier and hopefully make enforcement with problems in the city easier and better for our citizens.
All he has to do is push a button on a computer right now with a letter or.
Have you
some-
observed his job on a day-to-day basis? So you don't know what he does. And that's not fair for you to say that all he has to do is punch one button and then it's
Well,
done.
once the software is gonna let him know that he's gonna have to do it.
We approved this software tonight to make our city manager's job easier to enforce code. Period.
Your Honor. Do you have anything else for public comment?
Pardon me?
Do you have anything else for public comment?
No, sir.
Very good. Jerry, go ahead.
Your Honor, I don't think Mr. Ainworth's complaint tonight is the fact that we purchased the software. His anger comes from not being recognized to speak before we made our decision. Everything that he just told us at that stand, he should have been recognized to tell us before we voted and before we considered accepting that software.
Yep,
And we were not
we
able
already
to hear
covered
from
that.
him.
Yep.
Okay? That's where his anger's coming from. No, Jake just drilled him on how good the software is and why we need it. He should have heard that before we voted. He should have heard that during the discussion, and he
Understood.
didn't. And I think that's where their anger's coming from.
Understood. Thank you.
I will say
All right,
this,
just-
I apologize for you not being recognized earlier. I personally apologize that you weren't recognized earlier.
Craig, I hope it makes your job easier.
Craig, do you have any city manager report?
No report.
Would you, Mr. DeWitt, you wanna go first?
No report?
Just a question about the, amendments to the charter. The ones that were approved, when are those gonna be incorporated?
So we just got something from the Office of the Great Seal that been finalized. So now, next time we get the city charter code updated, they'll be included in the update.
Okay, 'cause I'm concerned about the upcoming election.
Yep.
Thank you.
Apologies to open comments that were missed. End of report.
We have our meeting next week, and we'll start planning our next event, the beautification.
Jerry?
North Fork.
Okay.
No report.
Okay, very good. The only thing I have to say is I certainly got lots of great comments on the Christmas tree and all the lights down in the park. In fact, Ben Ainsworth's wife posted, or not Ben Ainsworth, Cal's wife.
Wonderful.
Did a nice job on it. Public Works did a nice job on it.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.